Hey everyone. Did another day of wrenching on the MG and kind of getting her a little further along, and grab the camera and go do a walk around. It's 7 o'clock Friday night, and just kind of clean it up, put all the tools away. There's probably 100 things laying all over the floor, and 2 inches of rust and crap and everything. So no, it's not sitting up on the lift. That's its new riding height. We did a bunch of suspension modifications to it. Click the light on, and I'll show you what I did. First thing is put a little bit of red tape on the end of the bumpers that keep me from smashing my head, because that always sucks. But if you look, you can see that I put the bump stops in, and I left there's probably about 3/4 of an inch right there, and that transfers to about 3 inches of wheel movement, maybe a little bit more on the outside edge. So that's what we got for bump stops, both sides. Drilled a hole in the bottom, mounted that. I was going to do it the other direction, but actually kind of worked out better this way. And to get the suspension to kind of sit up where it should, it was a combination of things. One was I ended up taking the springs from the old shocks, which were an inch longer and a little thicker, and put them inside the new shocks, struts, whatever you want to call them, gas shocks, and got those back in there. And they were a bitch to get back together because there was so much preload on it. I probably had to compress the spring a good 4 inches just to get the shock itself together. So that's that guy. And how I went about doing that is I grabbed this thing at a yard sale about 2 weeks ago, and they're just a bunch of, like, I don't know what you want to call them, old wood clamps or something. So I had them sitting outside. They're like $10 a piece, but they look cool, so I grabbed them. They look like, they got some age to them. But I ended up using it for something else. I ended up using it to be a press for the shocks. Let me grab a spring. So the ones that are in the car are probably, I said, a good 1.5 inches longer than this, and some other extra preload. And they kind of go, all right, no jokes here. Maybe a couple of jokes. All right. Like that. Like that. And then I'll just shove that in there for now. It has a collar. You can kind of see, it looks something like you take a modern gas gauge apart, fuel pump out of a modern car. It has that ring, it kind of turns into locks. This is the same thing. It goes over a couple of bumps on the shock. But you got to get it compressed far enough to do that. Now imagine this guy with the spring still being up here. So what I ended up doing is, this is just a piece of exhaust pipe that was I used or made for when I did that transmission, that C4 transmission, pushing the clutch packs apart, get access to slip ring when you put pressure on it. But it worked as another tool too, because I was able to put that whole assembly in there like that, and run the screw down and stick a little pair of channel locks in here and twist the cylinder and line it back up to where it's locked, and just backed it back off, and it became my strut compressor. It worked out pretty good. And what else? Let's lift the car up in here. Oh, yeah, there's one other thing too. I talked about that there was a bunch of weights in it. Guess I should have looked to make sure it was lined up, huh? It didn't fall off yet. I was looking to see if I can get rid of some weight on the front end, and with that, I don't know if I showed it on the other video, there was a big pile of rusty skid plate. There's the okay. That is what was under the front of the car, along with some of that hamburger right there. So that stuff came and got ripped out of there, ground out and ripped out, and that gave me access to the bottom of the frame of the center of the car, and I ended up digging out one of the weights There's actually one in itself sitting in the center of the car. So I was able to get up there with a whizzer and cut all the welds off. It took a little while, a couple of 2 or 3 wheels, but we got her out of there, and that probably knocked out a good, I'd say it's 50 pounds out of the front of the car. There's still 2 more stacked in there. Kind of look, you can kind of see that it was sitting right down in here between these 2 rails, and it was sitting right here. So pop that guy out of there, got a little bit more weight off the front end. If I ever need to feel that I need to put it back on, just throw it in the front of the car. Or relocate the battery to the front. What I don't want to show. Oh. And then underneath, I don't have a creeper here, so I'm just going to crawl under. We made up a new plate for the bottom of it and just kind of plug welded it. The old one kind of wrapped around the edges here. I don't like that idea. It just held too much moisture in there. So I went straight. You see it here. This is a piece of 16 gauge Galvy, and as I said, I just kind of drilled holes. Well, I cut it with a plasma cutter first to the size I wanted, and then drilled a bunch of holes, and then plug welded that with flux core wire. Flux core kind of works the best for Galvy, rusty, shitty kind of metal, you know. And the pieces, this was a square pan. The piece that went here and cut the corner, I flipped over and used over there. So she's all back together. I don't think I'm going to play with anything else. The only other thing I kind of see is there's a piece right here that comes down and bends over, but it's kind of a little shitty right here. I may go do something with it, I'm not sure yet, where I might just take a whizzer and just cut it right at this lip and then just come back and weld it back in. Here's the other 2 weights. So that's what I did on my summer vacation. Seems to do pretty good. You let her down, she does what she's supposed to. Okay, rear suspension. So you can get in here to see this one. All right, I'm getting a creeper. The rear suspension has a weird setup. Ah, shit, I'm not really going to be able to see it, am I? Bear with me. Let's get her up in the air a little bit more. It has like a leaf spring pack that was cut in half, and they used half of it on each side of the car. And from that, they kind of hung a rod with 2 big rubber bushings. The rubber bushings were all beat. So we had to do something about that. Let's see what we can get in there. Problem is I put the car forward. And you can't really see because it's actually sitting on it. But if you look, yeah, this is gonna suck. Okay, let's go with it from right here. This is the leaf spring pack. Half of it goes across to an arm. I just can't show it. Anyway, there was a bushing on the bottom and a bushing on top, and that bolt would not come apart. If it came apart, it was going to break it in half. And it's probably about 10 inches long. So I kind of chewed out the old rubber, took a hockey puck, ran a slice down the middle of it, make it look like a church key, pull a hole in the center, and then a line going to the outside, and whap that sucker on there, and put a stainless clamp on it, top and bottom, and that got rid of all the play, the sloppiness in the rear end. So the rear is sitting about probably about 2 inches taller on each side too. Safety on my lift. Up and down, up and down. All right. So you can see, you probably have a good fist with about an inch left on top of that, and that was probably sitting right about there before. In the front, doesn't sit that high. You gotta settle it the first time you put it down. It's about 3 inches high. There it goes. And that's it. It can never rub again because those bump stops, if you hit something, are gonna hit and only allow that tire probably to come up, I would say, probably right to about right there and stop, so it can never hit the fender again. And because I did that, now I relaxed the fenders and let them kind of settle back down a little bit again. I had them tweaked up to try to get clearance. So that's where we are. I am going to do a bunch of just painting black with a good old can of Rust-Oleum and a roller and a brush, and just kind of go over the whole frame underneath, clean the bottom of the car up. And then I gotta start making some wood pieces for the pieces that sat inside here. And just kind of start putting her back together. Alright guys, there is a big juicy cheeseburger with my name on it. It's calling me, I hear it. Cheeseburger. And I'm gonna go have at it. Thanks for watching, and take care.